So let's look at then that final part of that chain when we actually look at inflammation, because we have some really nice studies that can go and look at markers, and the best markers we have of inflammation in the short term. We have a really nice study here that was a systematic review of 15 RCTs looking at dietary linoleic acid intake or dietary linoleic acid intake on these markers of inflammation. Now, when you go along all these different studies, you don't need to read them here, but basically what you'll note is that the outcome of these, no difference, nearly all the way down, repeatable, no differences depending on different types of markers, slightly different types of setups in the cohorts or the trial participants, and so on. So basically, nearly everything is no difference when we're actually looking at inflammation here. And this is something that other meta-analyses and reviews have looked at, that when you look at controlled trials, when you look at feeding studies that are changing linoleic acid intake, and you measure markers of inflammation, you just don't see that it drives high amounts of inflammation, even in these short-term markers. Now, even if it did have some change, we would have another step to go and see, does it actually matter? But we have another layer of certainty now that, well, we're just not seeing in these trials where this idea that it's going to drive inflammation is coming from, which makes some of these claims even stranger. We have another really nice review that came out last year from some of the real kind of giants in the field of fatty acid research that looked at this specific question around polyunsaturated fats and some of these ideas around, do they cause different impacts on health? We see that, again, these high intakes of linoleic acid don't drive more inflammation, and if anything, there's a kind of trend for, in some cases, it may reduce inflammation. And we'll look at some of the other health outcomes later that might speak to this too. So we have a real nice consistency that from the mechanistic standpoint, there are some large questions of, does that chain of events actually occur? And then most importantly, when we actually measure inflammation and high intakes of linoleic acid, we just don't see that in these human trials.